probably.
All right, so we need to do roll call votes.
If I recuse myself, do we have a quorum?
Let's see.
I think we're on.
Giving money to us. My new datum is if they give money to us.
104?
Yeah.
It doesn't conform to the regulations.
Right. So you can say that.
That's when they did it that day. That's what it was.
Welcome everybody to the regularly stated meeting of the Yarmouth Conservation Commission. Today's date is Thursday, July 18th, 2024. This is to formally advise that is required by General Law, Chapters 38, Sections 18 through 25, and pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, an act relative extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, signed into law on June 16, 2021, as extended by Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023. The Yarmouth Conservation Commission will hold a public meeting at the date and time noted above. Public is welcome to attend either in person or via the alternative public access provided on the notice of meeting available on the Town of Yarmouth website. And this is the meeting for Yarmouth Conservation, Thursday, July 18th, 2024. Just let the record reflect that Commissioner Mulhern is absent today, and Commissioner Frost is actually in Zoom land. So we will be doing roll call votes. First order of business is a request for determination of applicability. Hannah Raditz, she's not Hannah, standing there for those of you without a program. For Don Carroll, 49 South Shore Drive, after the fact permitting for a deck in the velocity zone, flood zone, and buffer zone to a coastal beach. Kieran.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, members. For the record, Kieran Healy. I'm a land surveyor with the BSC Group, representing the owner of the property, Mrs. Dawn Carroll. We were here before you a few months back to discuss this project. Work had started at the time on replacing the decks, and the proper permits were not in place. Since the time, we went and we received permits from the building department, and it was decided at that original meeting that we'd come back with a filing for an after the fact once everything was complete, and there was no more construction required at the site. It was a little unusual in that the work had started because it had got destroyed in one of the storms, and once Brittany had gone out there, everything stopped, and then we came in front of this board for discussion, and it was agreed that we would go forward with the size decks that were proposed, and we would come back once everything was complete. Other than that, I'd be glad to answer any questions that the Commission may have.
Thank you, Kieran. Questions from the Commission?
This is just an overall replacement of the deck as it was existed?
Correct. The deck at the side of the building, yes. The deck on the closer to the street is a little bit larger, and we had discussed that at the original meeting. But the deck.
Remember.
Turn your mic up so I can just point it more at you. Thank you.
I'm sorry, also. So what you said is that there was destruction in a storm, and Brittany came out and took a look at it and gave an okay to go ahead. Is that what you said?
No. The owners had started work on the deck without discussing with Brittany.
Okay.
Brittany went out and saw it and put a stop work order on it.
Oh, yeah.
And as a result, we came in front of this board about 3 months ago to discuss it. We got permission to go forward and finish, but with the understanding that as soon as it was complete, we would do a filing so that there would be a plan on record of exactly what's there, because that was questionable. There was no good plan of the site at the time.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
Sorry, I'm Dawn Carroll.
We don't need you.
Sorry.
That's okay. Finn, anything? Anybody in the audience have any comments, questions on this project? Anybody on Zoom?
Nope.
All right, unless there's any further conversation or question from the board, would somebody like to make a motion for a -2 and a -3?
So moved, David.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Oh, I'm sorry. Nope, don't do that. Paul Huggins.
Aye.
Ellie.
Aye.
Rick.
Aye.
David.
Aye.
Jack.
Aye.
And chair votes aye, carries unanimously. 6-0. All right, so that's a good thing for you. That means you don't have to do any further filing with Conservation Commission. All right, so give it a couple of days, sometime middle of next week. Finn will have the determination for you, and then you'll be able to continue on.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate
Sure.
it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members.
Right, next order of business is another request for determination of applicability for 71 Acres Avenue Realty Trust, 71 Acres Avenue. Proposed 10 by 26-foot addition and a deck expansion within land subject to coastal storm flowage. Kieran.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. For the record, again, my name is Kieran Healy. I'm a land surveyor with the BSC Group, representing the owner who is with me tonight, Janice O'Reilly. What we're looking to do is to put an addition on the front of the building and to replace and enlarge a wood deck on the side of the building. The only resource in this area is the flood zone. We did locate wetlands to the south, but they are more than 140 feet away from any construction. Again, the only resource is the flood zone in this area. Other than that, it's a simple project, and I'm glad to answer any questions you may have.
Questions?
Well, sure, Mr. Keeley. Typically, we don't hear presentations when the site has not been staked, and it hadn't been staked when we were there on a Monday. But because this is a flood zone, I might look at it differently. But just for your information for future, we're going to make sure we stake those projects.
Thank you. We had not been staking out RDAs in the past, so we always stake out notice of intents. But the RDAs we typically hadn't been staking out. But we would gladly start doing so in the future. Thank you.
Anybody else? Ben? Anybody in the audience have any comments, questions on this one? Anybody on Zoom?
Nope.
Then would somebody like to make a motion for a -2?
So moved.
Second?
Let's see, Huggins,
Aye.
Lawrence,
Aye.
Bishop,
Aye.
Bernstein,
Aye.
Frost,
Okay, yes.
and chair votes aye, carries unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members.
Thank you.
Karen?
Thank you, Karen.
Right, next order of business is another request for determination of applicability. This is Thomas and Linda Grew for 353 Weir Road. There's an after-the-fact permitting for a chicken coop and gravel driveway within the buffer zone to two vegetated wetlands.
Good evening.
Good evening, Lynn.
Afternoon. Lynn Hamlin here with Matt Grew. We filed this RDA as part of an enforcement order mandate. Just when I was looking at the plan, I realized that the items are not located on Matt's property, but rather on Thomas Grew's property. So I just completed the application accordingly. So I notified the abutters to the proper parcel, but it's all in relation to the enforcement order. So I was here with you last time for the first enforcement order that involved the cutting of the vegetation, and the second one was issued for construction items, and in that enforcement order, it was required to file an RDA for the chicken coop and the gravel for the driveway, so that's what we did. And I've been to the property several times, and I went again, and I'm amazed at how clean that chicken coop is, and I included some photographs for you. And so there is a management plan. The chicken waste never hits the ground. It's removed daily and taken off-site and composted in a contractor's yard. The gravel will simply stabilize the existing dirt driveway and make it a little better than just straight dirt. And I think it's pretty straightforward, so I'll try to answer your questions.
Okay. questions from the board?
I thought we asked them to move that trampoline out of the 35.
This site plan was just located back months ago, so everything is on it, and the enforcement order was it's different items, and the items for the RDA were the driveway and the chicken coop. So the trampoline is a different item.
So it has been moved?
I'll have to defer.
No.
It has not been moved. I'm happy to move it. It's just, it's built into the ground, so it's flush, so it's a little bit of a project. I don't have time at the moment to do it, but I'm happy to move it once I get through a busy
I
season here.
thought that was, I
I'm
thought
happy
that
to
was
move
part
it.
of the
Yeah, yeah, no.
discussion we had earlier, yeah, was to get everything out of the 35.
I thought it was an above the ground. It looks like, it's like a pool. I mean, it's like the commercial ones that you bounce level with the ground.
Yeah, I can spin it out of there. It's just gonna be a little bit of a project to turn it.
Turning it.
Yep.
You're just going to move it out of 35 then? Okay.
Anybody else?
Just a question about the chicken coop, kind of, just for my information, do you have to get a permit from the health department for a chicken coop? Or anything, or an approval?
I don't believe so.
Just wondering.
I've had chickens myself, and
You do?
maybe incorrectly I didn't pull a permit, but
I don't know, I just was wondering. Okay, thank
I
you.
think there are regulations that guide us, so I think you may at least have to, I don't know if there's a specific permit for it, but I think you are supposed to clear it because there are supposed to be, I mean, I don't think any of it applies here, but I know it's more of a zoning issue because of they don't want roosters
Okay.
I think it's,
heckling at 4 o'clock in the morning, 10 feet away from some of the neighbor's yard, that sort of thing, but
yeah, I think it's lot size.
should look into that.
I was out there and the chickens look very happy anyway, so.
I like seeing a happy chicken. I hate when there's miserable chickens in a chicken coop.
All right, happy chickens, happy commissioners. All right.
Trampoline
Finn,
needs to
anything?
be happy too.
Then I guess I do have something. According to the notes, it says, check for completion of restoration plantings at site visit. Plantings were not completed.
Yeah, they weren't complete, but I think those are a part of a different project as well. They weren't a part of the RDA.
Okay.
It's under the enforcement, right?
Yeah, they're not complete. I've sourced a bunch of it. I've just been super busy. We have a good portion of the planting that haven't been installed. The heat, it's just been.
Okay, no problem.
All right. Then you said nothing. Anybody in the audience on this one? Anybody on Zoom?
Nope.
Would somebody like to make a motion then for a -3?
So moved.
Second?
Second. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, Bishop got it.
All right. Paul?
Aye.
Ellie?
Aye.
Rick?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Jack?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. It carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lynn.
Thank you.
Could I ask a question?
Sure.
Anything, I own the property, 158 Pleasant Street, and my son Michael was trying, I think, an extension on the dock. Is that on the docket for tonight?
For one,
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
yeah, it's coming up,
It's towards the end.
yeah, you still have, three more hearings between here and there, okay?
I want to make sure it was there.
All right, next order of business is a continued notice of intent. Let's see, for SE 83-2429, William Hearn, 104 River Street, proposed construction of a pier with season ramp
Not this one.
and float within the riverfront area, land under the ocean, coastal bank, land containing shellfish, and land subject to coastal storm flowage.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Members, for the record, again, my name is Kieran Healy. I'm a land surveyor with the BSC Group, representing the owner who's with me tonight, Billy Hahn. We were here before you some months back, and we discussed this project. We had a pier ramp and float at that time. The Commission were not inclined to approve that particular plan, and we discussed the possibility of putting in a pier that would be fixed, that would push it further back from the main channel of Bass River. We were able to do so and to increase the setback to the channel to 90.5 feet. We were also able to push it so that it is 25 feet from the abutter's lot line to comply with the regulations. The relief, we still need some relief for the distance to the channel, the 9.5 feet. And we also need relief for distance to the windmill beach. We have 173 feet and we need 250 feet. What we have done is remove the pier and float, remove the float portion of this and made it a fixed pier. We are also proposing a sign on there to say that there are no motorized vessels. That sign will be positioned visible from the ocean of the river itself. We do have the depth at -3 feet where the boats will be tied up. Mr. Helm is a sailor, and that is his primary focus on this. He'd like a kayak rack and to be able to dock his sailboat on this. We were at Waterways. We did show the revised plans. We did get approval from that board before we came here. And other than that, we'd be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Questions from the board?
Well, I did bring this up at Waterways, as you well know, that for our bylaws and putting in a new pier, it has to be 4 feet straight out with no T or L at the end of it. So you'll be looking for relief for that plan here, too.
Good. And that wasn't clear to me in the bylaws that that no T was required. But if that's the case, and I'm misunderstood, then it's something that we would look for relief from as well. We have reduced the size. It is only 16 feet in length. The floats in this area, we could have put in a 6 by 33 foot wide float, a long float, but we are proposing a 16-foot fixed pier, which is pretty much the smallest that we can have out there.
But we have requested any remake of a pier to be straight out 4 feet wide with nothing at the end of it. Any rebuilt or new docks, which is why I abstained at Waterways.
Yes.
That's my input.
Okay. Anybody else on the board?
No.
I can barely hear with the air conditioning going on, so it's nice when it stops. Finn?
No, nothing too extra. There was 2 abutters that have said they have claims to the property. So I just wasn't sure if you have the proof that you'll be able to build the dock on this.
Well, we're complying with the town's regulations as far as the distance to the southerly lot line. If needed, Tommy Wall is here with us tonight to discuss that, if that's a concern for the board. But the biggest thing for us is that we're more than 75 feet from the abutting dock to the south, and we are more than 25 feet to the property line to the south. And that's all we can deal with the commission is the distances that the commission require.
Is there anybody in the audience who has any comments on this one?
Zoom?
I just have one more.
Yeah.
In the past, we have denied an application that was within the limitations of the public beach, which I believe would apply to this one as well.
Right, and that's the very reason that we got rid of the motorized vessels and went with sailing only, because there is a pier, which is very important. There is an existing dock between that beach and our property.
It's been there for 70 years that I can think of, since I've been around. Okay. But I hear you.
And it has, it's
Grandfathered way before, yeah.
it predated the beach distance bylaw.
It did.
It's there for 70 years. There was no bylaws dealing with distances to beach 70 years ago.
Indeed.
So that's the reason we felt with making this non-motorized and having it further back from the channel than the existing 2 would be beneficial to this area. That We heard the commission at the last meeting where they said that the pier was not acceptable because it was too close. So we pulled it back and we got rid of the motorized vessels, which I would think is substantial.
Okay, any further discussion from the board? Again, I already asked in the audience, anybody on Zoom? Okay, unless...
Jack has his hand raised on
Oh,
Zoom.
Jack?
Yeah. I think by having that pier closer to the public beach really negates the need for not having any further piers down, even though they're within the 200 feet. I guess from some of the objections that I remember, this is, from my viewpoint, a working river. And I really, I'm not sure how those objections would apply in this case when they're talking about environmental and other problems, that aesthetic and safety. So I think that I would propose that we let this go in. I make a motion.
Well,
I think there's an audience member.
Hold on, yeah.
Hand raised as well.
Anybody else on Zoom? Does that say
Well,
Scott?
how'd you, I'm one of the abutters that has rights to the property. How would that affect our rights?
Who are you again?
I'm Tina Mosca
And you live?
at 109B River Street.
Okay.
And I have an easement to the property with the rights to put a dock in as well.
No, I don't think you have the rights to put in a dock. Your easement says that you have the rights to use it. Use
No,
the
it
area.
doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. It says I have the right to put in a floating dock, to put
Isn't
boats
she the one
there.
that sent us the letter?
Yeah, two. And there's
Yes.
letters in the folder as well if you want.
Yeah, I read your letter and I read what your deed said. The way I read it, and I'll ask the rest of the commissioners for their interpretation as well. But the way I read it is that you have the right to use the area for
Right now.
boating and for access to the water. It does not give you the right to build a dock. You don't own the property.
No, I don't own the property, but it does say I
And
can
it
put
says
in a
that you're allowed
floating
to
dock.
use the dock.
No, because there's no dock. I'm allowed
no.
to put in a floating dock. There is no dock there now.
See the letter?
Yeah, that's what we're here for.
No, I understand that.
Can I see the letter? Because we didn't get a copy.
I
At the top
only
of the
saw it.
folder.
Relevant.
There's two up top.
Relevant.
It's these two, and then do you have the copy of what they sent, the deed and everything?
Relevant to this application, Mr. Chairman? I mean,
I don't think so, that's what I'm saying.
I
It's
think
like, I don't
that's
think
a
they
civil
had.
matter.
Well, that was my question. Is this relevant at this time to this application?
Well, no, not before the conservation, I don't think it is, but that's not what you were asking me, so that's not what we answered.
Anybody else want to see the letters?
Yeah, I do.
I'll read it after you.
Okay, did you have any other questions on that one?
No.
All right, anybody else on Zoom have any questions? I see,
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
is it Scott,
Scott Martin.
Yeah.
Mr. Martin.
Okay, Scott, I'm sorry, I can barely see what your name is.
Okay. I'd spoken to you guys last time as well. We do have the right to construct a pier if you look at the easements in detail. Okay? Bill Hearn's predecessor stole us the rights to put up a pier. Okay? There's nothing about using a pier. It's the right to construct. We have the rights to put boats there. We've had this right since 1985.
All right, I'm sorry, so
But
that's
it's
not,
right.
that's not the way I read, the deed that you sent us, that's not how I
I didn't
read
send
it.
you the deed. Why don't you read my easements that were sent to Finn? Okay, it specifically details this in verbiage that says we have the right to construct a pier. And you're letting this guy take our rights away. Because if he puts up a pier, that nullifies our rights. Because none of the footage will count. Plus, he's asking for variances that we don't need. I'm disgusted in this whole process.
Civil.
Again, I don't think this has any, this is not germane to the decision of the Conservation
Civil.
Commission.
It sure is, Jermaine, because it's ethical and moral. Okay? If you guys let him go in and put a pier, it nullifies something that we have paid for. We have paid for this right from his predecessor, and
Again-
he's trying to get around it.
All right, again,
This is not right.
again, this has no place for the Conservation Commission. If you have a grievance against somebody else, you need to take it to court, okay?
No, this is not. Okay, have you read the selectman's letter?
Not the selectmen, we never got it.
Well, the selectman was sent the letter.
All right.
This has all sorts, you guys are putting the town in a very litigious position. Okay?
Okay.
Because you're allowing somebody to steal our right by giving them the rights to something the predecessor already sold.
All right, thank you. All
Vote against it.
right, thank you.
I
Mr. Chairman?
mean, I'm willing to read to you what it says. It says, together with the right to use that portion of the above described premises representing the extension of said 8-foot wide easement area southeasterly into Bass River as far as the Granger's ownership extends for the construction, maintenance, and use of a pier and float.
Yeah, I think that just said it's a right to use, but again, it has nothing to do with us.
Okay, so, okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
For the record, Brian Wall, I also represent the applicant, Mr. Hearn. And I was not going to talk unless it was raised by abutters, but since it has been, I'll just very briefly say, I have reviewed the easement, and I want to clarify, one of the abutters said that they have the right to use the property, but I just wanted to clarify the easement is an 8-foot wide strip of land that runs along the boundary line of Mr. Hearn's property, and it does grant the abutters rights to access to the water. But I think it's important, and I'm just going to emphasize what the commission, I think, has already concluded, that property rights, whether they have the right to build a dock or they don't have the right to build a dock, first of all, it would be subject to your review anyway. It's not really before you. The commission regulates activities within wetland areas. They don't decide property rights, and I would respectfully point out, too, that in the standard WPA form order of conditions, general condition number 2 says, and I'm going to paraphrase, the commission regulates activities, it does not grant property rights, and it does not authorize injury to property. And so the commission is not putting the town in a litigious position. The commission is doing what it should do, is to let private property rights be resolved by the parties or by the courts. So again, I just would respectfully submit that it's an entirely irrelevant issue. Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Wall.
Can I just ask another?
Yeah.
What I'm having a hard time with is that end of the, where the pier is T-shaped, I guess I'd call it, and what Ellie brought up. Just want to be honest, I'm having a hard time accepting that, because I don't want to see other piers, other people coming and saying, well, you know, we gave this pier. And I'm wondering if there's a different way to present that or build that pier.
There are two options. We would have less water, so we wouldn't meet that regulation, or we could go out a little bit further, and then we would be a little bit closer to the channel. This is kind of the the best solution with the situation we have in this case. We cannot dredge, so we cannot pull it back. The Commission changed the regulations so the dredging couldn't happen. But so if that was the case, we could have put in, pulled it back, put in a pier and a float, and met the distance to the channel, met the distance to the southerly line, and we still would be short to the beach, but we could improve it. So this is kind of the best situation, and each individual property is unique. Even though there are a lot of properties on the river like this, there's none exactly like this. So I don't think this would be a concern for precedent because of the uniqueness of this particular site.
Still doesn't solve the relationship with the public breach.
Well, that, the other docks that have asked to be rebuilt, we've insisted on 4 feet, and nothing at the end except for maybe a little bump out for a seat, not another 12 feet out. That's what we've done in the past.
I think the other thing too, you have to worry. I know people always talk about setting precedent, but this is not setting precedent. We look at each one of our applications as a unique application, and we judge based on the merits and the particularities of that specific site. So just because you do it here doesn't mean you have to give it to some other place. And if somebody bring that up, that's exactly what I would say to them. It's like we do this as we look at each site on a site-specific basis, and we make the decision based on what the conditions are at that site. So I don't know if that makes eases your mind.
Yeah, that's true, but the other, which waterways, I don't think they even approach that, is that it's a turning point in the river, and a solid thing there makes it a little more intimidating to jibe around.
It was specifically discussed at Waterways. It was specifically discussed, and the Waterways commissioners, besides yourself, all voted in favour, even though that was specifically discussed about that being a turning in the channel. And they felt that because this was further back than the 2 docks to the north and south, and the fact that it was 90 feet from the main channel was adequate for turning.
I remember that.
So it was discussed.
Yeah, I think I'd rather see it this way than that, getting them to go further out and closer to the channel. So that would be my own preference on that. But
well, that's true, but it doesn't say anywhere where we have to permit them to have a T or a float or anything on the end of that. If you look farther to the north, there is a stipulation that dock will never have a float, can never have a float on it. So it doesn't guarantee that it's a special condition that you get something more than that.
that goes back to my whole point, is that we do this on a site-specific basis. That's why we look at it that way. Any further discussion among the board? Anybody else on Zoom in the audience?
Yeah, Jay.
I
think that's the same
No, that's
guy.
Scott. Scott, are you going to add anything to this that you haven't already said?
You're muted.
We have, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, there's a pending application for a pier on 103 as well as 110, already in the works. There's a second application for that same place for a pier. And one that does not need the variances that Bill Kern is asking for.
Okay, we're not here to discuss other possible filings. We're discussing 104, okay? Do you have anything further to say on that you haven't already added? Unless there's any further discussion among the board, then would somebody like to make a motion to approve the project with special conditions?
So moved.
I do.
Paul? Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Was that Jack?
Yeah.
All right, Paul?
Aye.
Ellie,
Nay.
Rick,
Nay.
David,
Aye.
Jack,
Aye.
and chair votes aye. Carries 4-2.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members.
Thank you very much, members. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks, Finn. Thank you.
That's what I'm telling you. I'm done. This is my last night. Wait till Jonathan Wood's lawsuit comes, guys. Just wait. Jonathan Wood will be here with a lawsuit before you know it. I'm just telling you.
That's the way it goes, and we can't worry about what.
Jonathan
what
Wood
somebody
will
else
be
is gonna
there with a lawsuit in a second.
You don't sign this, I said?
No.
All right, next order of business is another continued notice of intent for SE 83-2430. Is Anthony Fiola, 1 Malfa Road, proposed raise and replace a dwelling and septic within the velocity flood zone and the buffer zones to a coastal bank, coastal beach.
Good evening, Craig Ferrari with Down Cape Engineering here. So this project is a raise and replace of an existing dwelling. We're combining the existing dwelling and garage square footage into one new structure elevated above the velocity zone and a new on-site septic system. Some revisions since the last time we were before you. We've set a monitoring well at the property just to double check that groundwater elevation. And we've gotten rid of that adjustment based on the tidal influence of the groundwater, and that has allowed us to, in conjunction with the MicroFast innovative alternative nitrogen-reducing septic system, bring that septic system below grade. So we've gotten rid of that retaining wall that was a big contentious issue on the last meeting. So we're getting rid of everything on the site that is at grade. The only thing will be the piles supporting the house. Everything's going to be elevated up above that flood zone or down below grade in the ground. So those are the major changes since the last time, and I'm happy to answer any other questions the commission has.
Okay, thank you. Questions from the board?
Yep, I have one.
Jack, Paul.
Could you review what you're doing with the septic again? You kind of.
Yeah, so we've added a MicroFast component, which is a nitrogen-reducing septic tank. So there's going to be a septic tank with a blower in there to reduce the nitrogen in the effluent, and then a below-grade pump chamber, and we're pressure dosing that septic field.
So the discussion last time was about whether you should have a closed system, I think, or
Tight tank.
a tight tank. So that you
The language is the tight tank is an absolute last resort if an on-site septic system is not feasible.
Okay.
Anybody else?
How often will the ground monitoring be done?
So we went out and checked the monitoring well multiple times, and we're actually using a high groundwater elevation that is above what we observed in the field. So, I mean, we're not planning on any continuing monitoring of the groundwater table once this septic's installed, but it is 3 feet above, the high water level.
High water, okay. I have no further questions.
And just, the only thing I did, you've done what we've asked you to do. I think that is the case. I would like to see a special condition that's added that all past and present mitigation areas that are needed be planted first before any further construction goes, and have a conservation agent inspect that. Finn, do you have anything?
No, that covers it all.
All right, anybody in the audience? Come on up here, just go up to the podium, state your name and where you live, and your comments.
Yes, good evening. My name is Victoria Dalmas. I'm an attorney with Senny and Associates. I'm following up to Chris Senny his submission, letter submission, that you all should have. And we represent Kathy and Victor Centopani at 5 Malfa Road. Very quickly, there were 4 requests that we made, Chris made in the letter, and the good news is we have coordinated with the applicant's counsel, and we are in agreement that the 4 conditions are acceptable. Regarding the condition that the septic should be removed within 1 year of connection to the municipal sewer system, I think that's just being tweaked such that if the Conservation Commission at that time and the Board of Health agrees that it could be retained, then that would be acceptable. But we would like those conditions to be reflected on the record. We are in agreement. And then the only other thing of concern is whether the Commission could consider, if possible, the fact that there has been erosion impacting Malfi Road Beach. And we don't know if the existing retaining wall can be fortified in some way to help with that issue. And that would be the only request that we would ask you to consider. Thank you. Any questions?
I mean, as far as the wall goes, that's not before this, as part of this project, so we certainly can't vote or work on that one, but.
Okay.
All right, anybody else?
Cindy Van Doren, I'm at 4 Malfa Road. My only question, there's a couple of them, but my question was the wall that Anthony has put in. I know that the Conservation Commission said that there would have to be some sort of materials or plantings on the water side of that wall. Is that anything to do with this proceeding tonight? And I think that was supposed to have been part of the wall that was, when it was originally put in, that was all part of that. And besides that, what Anthony has done and what I have done to try to shore up our beaches, which is we both are between Malfa Road, the town way to water. So we both are doing what we have to do to help, but unfortunately, the Yarmouth town doesn't help us with that town way to water in between us. So no matter what Anthony does to shore up his, you know, we're still getting, I mean, during that storm in last December, I lost a lot of my dune that I had made, and it has put some sand in that Malfa Road area. But the town had said up 2 years ago now that they would be bringing sand in there. And I just wonder what their obligation is to kind of keep our beaches shored up there.
Again, so that doesn't come before as part of this hearing.
Okay.
Okay.
Who would I talk to concerning that?
DPW, Jeff Colby at DPW.
Okay.
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 They're the ones who would be taking care of any of the road, way to waters and roads to the water that way. And also Bill Bonetti over at Natural Resources.
Okay, now Natural Resources would also take care of what? Whatever materials that Anthony has to put in front of his property as well?
Has some of the nourishment, for the long-term nourishment. I think this is one of the areas where they were talking about.
I seem to recall there was some sort of stipulation when they put in the seawall, and it has eroded quite a bit, but we'd have to look it up. I think there was some sort of stipulation about.
But I would certainly bring that question up to Bill as far as the,
so I would talk to them, and then whatever Anthony does in front of his wall to shore that area up, that's through the Natural Resources as well?
No, I mean, that's.
Who oversees that?
Well, if he's proposing things, that's, he is the one who's in front of his. It's only on his property. Just as you, whatever work you do, you are limited to whatever is on your property.
Okay. So that, whatever he does is overseen by the natural resources, is that correct?
No, anything that he's doing in terms of wetland resource alterations would come before conservation.
Okay, so you would check what he's done in front of the wall before,
Right.
okay. And that just goes after.
And then as far as the planting, you're talking about the plantings and everything, that's one of the special conditions that we're going to put into this permit, is to make sure that all of the plantings, both in the past, that were supposed to be done in the past, and the ones that are needed coming up, are all done first,
Okay,
before
and
they
you-
do any other,
and
before
you-
they do any other work.
You give the specifics of what sand or whatever has to be put in front of that? Or you
It's,
just?
no, it's according to the plan, so
Oh,
there's
that's a
no,
separate
there's no
permit.
nourishment as part of that.
Okay, so, and if I want to talk to anyone about Malfa Road, then that would be the natural resource.
DPW, yeah.
Okay, thank you ever so much.
Okay, yep. All right, anybody else in the audience? Anybody on Zoom? I see, is that Kath? Is that Kathy?
Yeah.
Kathy?
You're muted, Kathy.
Unmute yourself.
Still muted.
Kathy, you need to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, this is Victor Septimani, Kathy's husband. And my concern is that I know the demands were made to do plantings in front of the retaining wall, but it seems like the time goes on and on and on, like everything else over there at that property, and nothing really seems to get done. Since he was required to do the plantings, it's been a couple years, and it just keeps eroding more and more. And I don't know what it's going to take now, or what needs to be done in front of that wall, but there's not much there to plant anything on. So I'd like to know what the requirements are going to be for him to be able to plant anything on that side of the wall, because there's nothing there now but rock and water.
Well, once again, we are requiring that they carry out the planting that was required under the previous permitting, as well as the one that's coming up that we're currently speaking with. So they need to have all of that done before any other work is conveyed or started. So they can't do any other work on the property until they get the planting done, and it gets signed off by the conservation administrator or agent.
Okay, but I thought there was a time on the planting.
There should be, right?
You mean in the
Past planting.
What's the time on it?
Time on a past planting, not the
Yeah, they're still active. Is that what you're asking? Is it an active permit?
Are you asking that whether, what the time limit was when they were supposed to have the first planting done?
Yes, has the time for that request expired?
So just to clarify a bit here, the ocean side of that wall, I believe that permit, and again, this is a separate SE number, but when it eroded, we were going to put some rocks in front of that wall, and the plantings were on the house side of the wall. And those beach rose plantings have been installed, by the way. So those plantings under the separate permit have been put in place. And as Ed has stated, all of the proposed plantings for this project and other orders on the property will be carried out before any construction occurs.
And that's still a valid order of conditions for the previous one, correct?
I believe so. If not, we'll extend it, and that'll be a separate issue before the board.
Okay. All right, anybody else on Zoom?
Yeah, I'm not quite clear or satisfied with the answer here, because the erosion just keeps eroding. And, you know, you people are the conservation, and I thought the purpose of the conservation was to conserve the land there. I mean, or to conserve the resource there. I mean, it just continues to erode, and it's like everything else there. Nothing gets done, you know, and it goes on and on. We've been looking at that place for 20 years. It's an eyesore, and everything gets done half-assed. You know, the plantings that were just put in, I don't know if the commission was out there to look at them, but they're pretty sad looking. I don't know if that meets your requirements or not, but if that's the way it's gonna be, I hate to see what's gonna be put in on the road, on the water side of the wall, because nothing's gonna.
Excuse me. Is this the owner?
Grow.
Is this the owner beside me?
If it doesn't have substantial soil to grow into. So what I'm wondering is, what do they need to do to make a base? And when does that have to be done by? If he never decides to rebuild the house, then is the commission okay with just letting it erode indefinitely?
No. And so what's going to happen is that sooner or later, either way, he has to file or he has to request what's called a certificate of compliance. At that time, there is going to be an inspection. If he doesn't meet the conditions for the certificate inspection, he won't get the certificate. It will stay out, and the commission will then force you know, you need to mute yourself because we're getting terrible feedback.
There you go.
Thank you. So once he applies for the COC, the certificate of compliance, he will need to be, if anything is lacking or deficient, he will have to bring those into compliance before he is issued a certificate of compliance, which would remove it from his title. Okay. So yes, there are checks and balances. There are checks and balances on that. All right, so I think we've answered that question.
Yeah, that's under a different SE number.
All right, anybody else on Zoom? Anybody else on Zoom?
No.
Anybody else in the audience? Would somebody like to make a motion to issue the permit with special conditions, paying particularly attention to the mitigation planting for previous and current projects?
With dates for those?
Well, they got 3 years for this one and whatever is the remnants of the previous one. So.
Finn, do you know what the dates are for the previous?
I can't pull it up here, but it would be in the folder. And then can we also add a special condition for a split rail fence?
Ah, yes.
I mean, he's got 3 years to do the project, so he can't do anything before he does the planting. It doesn't matter what planting he's doing. He needs to get all of that planting done before he can do anything else. So if at the time, I mean, again, we'll have a condition that requires him to file for a certificate of compliance as well, as the same as with the previous order. And so if he hasn't done that, then we can issue an enforcement order to compel him to do that. So, at which time it would also cover the planting again.
I have a question for Finn. Where would the split rail fence be on the special condition? It says only a split rail fence to be placed. Is that along the road?
Wherever they were adding the fence on the property, I can't see the plan at the moment,
yeah,
but I think it was along the road.
It was.
Okay. I get it.
I'm not picking it up right now. Craig, where is that?
There's just a small section of fence along the Malfa Road layout and the northern property line.
All right. So, and again, you're with a split rail there, okay? All right, is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
Jack, thank you. Paul?
Aye.
Ellie?
Aye.
Rick?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Jack?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, carries unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Where are we now? Grandview.
Is he not here again?
Yeah, it's us. We'll be all right.
No, see, that's what I'm saying, yeah, I don't think you will. Because I'm pretty sure that.
You told him last time that he had to
told you last
present,
time, right?
yeah,
Was
he had
I
to
not
present in
clear about
person.
that?
Yes, you were pretty clear.
May I speak to the board, please?
No, Roy, you may not.
I flew there at the last meeting across the country just so I could be there, and there was a clerical on my assistant's behalf that she didn't turn the plan in, and I wasn't notified that night, so I had every intention of being there per your last request. I work a construction job in Texas that I have to be at most of the time, so I had actually traveled all the way across the country just to be at your meeting and found out, even though it was just a minor change in the plan, that I was not allowed to attend, so I had to continue, and there's nothing I can do about it. But I did make I was there, I talked to the agent basically said, no, you can't go, and, that's where I ended up. And I believe that is an extenuating circumstance with a minor change in the plan. We request that you do hear it, and I'm available right here, and I apologize again, but I was there, so.
I'm sorry, Roy, I mean, you were told that you need to show up for these hearings.
I did show up. I was
You're not
there.
here tonight, are you?
I was called like a half an hour before the meeting or earlier that day saying, we never got the plan. And, just that day, and it was my understanding that it was turned in. My assistant said she turned it in, but she had forgotten. And that's the extenuating circumstance. I had every intention of being there. If you don't want to hear it, then we'll request, if you're going to not do that, I'll be there for the next one.
Mr. Chairman,
I apologize
if I
again.
may.
Hold on.
So, I'm looking at the board.
Yeah, I have a question. Okay. I know what we've requested in terms of people being here. It seems to me to be reasonable that sometimes it's not going to be feasible for a representative to be here. And so is there any vehicle that we have or any process we have to allow a remedy to this kind of situation, number one? Secondly, the gentleman says he can represent himself. Is that not allowed to represent himself for his own project?
Well, for question number one, a continuance is what we allow for if they can't show up. Question number two, it's up to the clients really if they want to do it that way.
If what?
We can't deny them.
No, I
wouldn't think so.
It's just my.
All right, you really want to go forward with this?
I do. I think last time we were here, there was only a few items that we were supposed to fix, and they've been fixed, and I understand it pretty well. If it's okay with you, I'd love to try it, because for us to keep, having these meetings is expensive for my wife and I.
Yeah, I know. It's like it's too.
I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place, so if you don't mind, I would love to try.
All right, let me read it into the record. This is another continued notice of intent for SE 83-2436. Donna Martell, 60 Grandview Avenue, proposed addition including a second-story garage, patio, and pool within land subject to coastal storm flowage, the riverfront area, the buffer zones, the coastal beach, and coastal bank. The representative is not present. The homeowners are acting as their applicant. And would you like to make any other statement at this point?
200 feet.
Thank you for having us. I think so. Last time we were here, the board had asked us to take all of our plants, the mitigation plants, and keep them within the 35-foot buffer, which we've done. And we're asked to move our shed that was within the 35-foot buffer out of it, which we've done as well. And we asked for a flagpole, which is on the plan now as well. But that was pretty much it. It wasn't, what's it? Oh, yeah, we were also asked to add an additional species of mitigation plant, which we've added 2 additional ones, so now there's 4. So I think we covered all the bases.
Yeah, I think
You guys-
the only thing I see, and it's still a little outstanding, is that I still see plants going up along the side and not fully into the 35, so.
Oh, those are additional plants.
So you're,
The mitigation is completely contained within the 35-foot. Those are plants that I asked Roy to put in place for me, because I figured I'd do it now, because I want to plant along that side, and I figured I'd show it on this plan. But the mitigation is all within the 35-foot buffer.
the proposed mitigation is 1,500 feet.
I think we're over 3,000 of mitigation planting area. Yeah, there's a chart there. It says 3,015 square feet.
Total mitigation with native plant is 3,700.
Yeah, that would be the overall total, and I think within the 35-foot buffer, it was 3,000.
Surrounding total area of 35 is 3,015.
Yeah, they're offering total of 3,700.
I think that includes the sides.
In the line above.
Surrounding total area in the 0 to 35 is 3,000, so you're still 700 feet short.
No, we're 70 feet over. So we need a total of 3,000, because we have 1,500 feet
Can they move it
of
back?
proposed work.
It's a little late.
So we need 3,000, and we did 3,072 within the 35-foot buffer.
I don't know if it can go back.
Those numbers are correct.
It says on here 3,015.
So, yeah, 3,015, yeah. So I don't have my glasses.
It says total mitigation with native plantings 3,765. So is that what you put in the 0 to 35?
No, that's within the entire area, but within the 0 to 35, if you look one line above that, it says total area in the 0 to 35, it's 3,015, like Mr. Bernstein pointed out.
And you owed
3,000.
3,000.
Scratch my glasses.
Okay.
I apologize for the confusion. We're just trying to go through this.
You know, you should not be apologizing for this. You hired a consultant to represent you, and I don't think you've done a real good job of doing that, but
I feel comfortable, I think.
anyhow, is there any further questions from the board?
Yeah, oh, there it is. Never mind, I see it.
They've gone to 4 species now?
I see it.
Nothing else from the board?
Not from
Finn?
mine.
Just that within the 35, it's still partial U shape. I don't know if you prefer it to just be flat across. You can still see.
Yeah, I guess in this case, I don't know if I don't know that I'd beat all that concern. Is everybody okay with the U shape like this, or?
Yeah, Finn, could you just explain what you just said? It's a little hard to hear you over there.
Yeah, sorry. So within the 35, you had asked for it to not be a U shape, and it still is a bit of a U shape, even though it does go farther up and is more stacked towards the wetland.
I think the only reason I'm good with it is because it actually, I mean, the resource continues to wrap a little bit. So I guess I'm okay with that. But. Okay, anybody in the audience? Anybody on Zoom?
Nope.
Any further discussion among the board? Would somebody like to make a motion to approve the project with special conditions?
So moved.
Oh, go ahead.
So moved.
Second.
Paul?
Aye.
Ellie?
Aye.
Rick? Aye. David?
Aye.
Jack?
Okay.
Chair votes aye. Carries unanimously.
Thank you. I appreciate your patience. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Next order of business, another continued notice of intent for SC 83-2438, Richard Dodd, 158 Pleasant Street, proposed 105-foot landward pier extension and 160 square feet of float within Fish Run, land containing shellfish, land under the ocean, land subject to coastal storm flowage, the riverfront area, salt marsh, and the buffer zones to a coastal beach and salt marsh.
Good evening, Craig Ferrari with Down Cape Engineering, here representing the property owners at this site. So I believe most of this was discussed at the last meeting. The main thing we were waiting for was the NHESP letter. We have received that letter, which is a no-take, that this project will not substantially affect any of those species. So just to reiterate, it's an existing pier. We're modifying the license to permit the float and ramp at the end of the pier and a landward extension over the salt marsh, just to bring that pier back to the lawn so that they don't have to walk through those resource areas to access this pier. Happy to answer any questions you folks have.
Questions from the board?
Just curious how you anticipate building that boardwalk. I mean, it's not something a barge can get to without grounding. It's just my information. I'm just curious about that.
You know, I have had some discussions with Lemco Marine. I believe that they're you know, looking at this project. I don't know that I have the specifics on exactly how they'll be driving those piles, but they're very experienced with this type of construction. So you know, they'll try to do it in the least disruptive way possible.
Just so we have pretty specific regulation on grounding a barge to do work. I'm just concerned about that.
Yep, that's understandable. I wouldn't think that you'd be able to do this with a barge. I think there would be some other machinery that they would need to do this.
Thank you.
And we will have a special condition that says that they're not allowed to damage the salt marsh, and if there is any damage, they will have to repair that. So.
Yeah, that was my next question. If they're not doing it from the barge, we have to protect the shore side of that. Maybe we should have a plan of their access.
Protocol?
Yeah. Well, their protocol and the access that they'd be using if they're going over the land.
Yeah, so that'll all be part of the protocol for access and access as well then. So, Craig, can you just make sure it's Lemco, if Lemco's the ones that are going to be doing it, make sure it's Lemco that actually does the protocol and it addresses access as well as what they're going to do to prevent any damage to the salt marsh or other resource areas.
Absolutely, sounds reasonable to me.
That should be submitted, I would say submit that 3 weeks before any work is set to work or is set to begin. Submit that so the administrator can review that.
Okay.
And then if she has any questions, she can bring it back to the board. Okay, anybody else? Finn, anything else? Anybody on the audience? Anybody in Zoom?
Nope.
Unless there's any further discussion among the board, would somebody like to make a motion to approve the project with special conditions and calling out specifically the no damage to the salt marsh or other wetland resource areas, and if any damage does occur, they need to repair that damage, and the issuance of a work protocol that specifically states how they are going to avoid wetland resource area damage and the access route, and that should be filed by the Lemco, the contractor. And then I think I would also add that if the contractor changes anytime during the project, that they notify the Conservation Commission before proceeding. Somebody like to make a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Rick, second?
Second.
All right, Paul?
Aye.
Ellie?
Aye.
Rick?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Jack?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, carries unanimously.
Thank you very much.
All right, moving on to certificates of compliance. We've got 4 certificates. The 3 I'm going to do as easies, the SE 83-1774, 49 and 51 South Shore Drive, SE 83-1632, 49 and 51 South Shore Drive, and SE 83-21599 Vernon Street. All those are easy. Do I have a motion to issue certificates of compliance for SE 83-1774, SE 83-1632, and SE 83-2159?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. That's for 8, 9, and 10. Paul?
Aye.
Ellie?
Aye.
Rick?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Jack?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, carries unanimously. Last one is certificate of compliance for,
If I could, just to clarify one thing, on one of the ones you just approved, it's the artifact RDA that we hear earlier on. I just wanted to clarify that in the other conditions that was originally done, there was a wall and a platform permitted for both parcels. I just want to make it clear that the wall and the platform on this one was constructed according to the plan, and there was no wall constructed on that one. I know you've approved it, but I just want to be clear that it's on the record that this wall and this platform were permitted and they were approved. I just want to be clear that that's what was done.
Okay, so
Not
noted.
all the work was done, but that work was done.
okay, so noted. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
Let's see, last one for the certificate of compliance for SE 83-2294, 22 Mayflower Terrace. I think everything is more or less okay with this, right, Ben?
Yeah, they submitted a new plan showing the different mitigation. I think where they originally were planning to put some mitigation on the left of this proposed pier, it didn't hold, so they kind of shifted it, and you can see it in this new plan. They shifted it more towards this area, and it looks like they wrapped it up around here. And the original plan just had it slightly more to the
South.
south.
Okay, everybody good on that?
Yeah.
You want
You
to?
visited that one
That's
as
fine, we
well.
were there.
Oh, did you see it?
I was there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so unless there's any discussion about that one, you're all good?
Yep.
All right, would somebody like to make a motion to issue the certificate of compliance for SE 83-2294, 22 Mayflower Terrace?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Paul?
Aye.
Ellie?
Aye.
Rick?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Jack?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, carries unanimously. Start sending these out.
of things to say.
Why aren't you telling me to send those down?
Because I didn't want to interrupt you.
We're on a roll.
Look, I haven't even sent out the last,
49 and 51 will have 3 sheets
have
to
3
sign.
sheets?
Yes.
Okay.
Those need to go into 104. Those are the letters they need
Make
to go
sure
in 104.
one of them, a couple of people won't sign.
River Street.
104, Rick and Ellie don't sign 104, which will be SE 2429.
Wait.
They had voted no on 2429.
We didn't sign it.
Okay.
Oh, well, yeah, and what,
No.
yeah.
No, we did not sign it.
Apologies.
Just following up.
It wouldn't be the end of the
housework,
world
right?
if they did, but.
House cleaning.
Yeah.
Wow, this is,
Uh-oh. That's why these things,
I'm loose.
Ernie, waiting to
these were attached to the first file. That I pulled them out and I was looking for
Okay.
them. So.
Sorry. I should have explained that.
Okay, these are the certificates, the last 2 certificates. Nobody's showing up for the enforcement hearing, huh?
shocking.
That's a bold move.
They care?
All right, so let me read, while they're finishing the signing here, we'll move into enforcement. We have 2, I'm going to open these both at the same time so we can discuss both because they're the same violation. This is enforcement for RJ Resorts Riviera Beach Resort Owner LLC, 327 South Shore Drive, and RJ Resorts Blue Water Beach Resort Owner LLC for 291 and 301 South Shore Drive. And Finn.
Yes, so the resorts have an order of conditions that allows for raking under special conditions. The conservation administrator was notified that the raking of the beach occurred without the required supervision of Mass Audubon. The CA investigated the beach and found raking marks indicating unpermitted raking with heavy machinery on the beaches. 2 fines were issued to each property, and the property owners responded saying that to their knowledge they did not rake and had suspended raking due to plover activity at River Beach. And then here's the attached images of the raking and the reduced rack line.
So we have a mystery raker.
Okay, somebody taking their yard rake.
Excavator from West Yarmouth a few years ago.
Yeah.
And she had a couple more that indicated you can see the heavy machinery. It might be towards the bottom. Here it is.
And there are plovers at this beach now, or
Yes, there are.
terns?
Which beach is this again?
Riviera and Blue Water.
Oh, okay. Closer to
Smugglers,
Smugglers, okay.
Lighthouse. Actually,
There's one at Smugglers.
not
There's stuff-
anymore. All the chicks died.
Are they all, do they know what happened?
Yeah, somebody went down there and set off fireworks on 4th of July and tore off all the netting and scared the hell out of them. And they tried to save them, and they thought they could save one, but they didn't.
Oh, that's real good.
Have an M with the Audubon.
Wonderful.
Did they catch the person doing the fireworks?
Oh. It was that night.
As most fireworks.
But they damaged the exclosure and everything?
Yep. They tore it all out.
Oh, I haven't seen that sort of thing for
There were a lot of fireworks that
30
night.
years.
I don't know
They
any,
left all the debris on the beach too, and
I don't know
it
if
was a
anybody
mess.
stopped anybody from doing it.
Well, I
hate
had
to
them,
say
I
it.
had them 2 houses down from me, and I'm nowhere close to the water. I came home, and there was a whole line of cars enjoying the show down my street.
Yeah. I had one
Like,
near
my poor
house.
dogs were just,
Into my street, too.
Yeah, and you're wondering.
well, these were super duper
Oh,
ones.
mine were too.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's-
they were-
I was on the river over in Dennis on the night of 4th of July, and there was a fireworks show like you wouldn't believe.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know, but it was my understanding that fireworks are illegal in the state of Massachusetts.
They are.
And I don't know what the YPD or the Dennis Police Department is doing. You know, obviously they're looking the other way. So if it's an issue, then maybe we could have representatives of the police department come and talk to us about the situation, the danger of destroying habitat during such events.
Well, I think Fish and Wildlife, so if you had 4 Although we won't get in.
Yeah.
Well, Fish and Wildlife, too.
I think either way, Fish and Wildlife Service is going to have some questions for the town, that's for sure. So.
Well, natural resources too, wouldn't they be interested in enforcement of that kind of thing?
Again, Fish and Wildlife is going to trump everything else there, so that's $250,000 for each bird that dies.
Is this like the environmental police, is that what you're talking about?
It's above.
Oh, yeah?
It's above.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay, well, whatever.
What I see is, at least in my neighborhood, they even cars block off the end of the streets.
Really?
And to prohibit people go down in the middle of the street, they're letting off these fireworks. And
Oh, this-
one of my neighbors said, it got on top of my roof and the
I believe
embers.
it.
Yeah.
This is right
And he
down
called
on
the
Wood
police
Road.
and-
Yeah, it was right down on Wood Road. I mean, that's a pretty major road. They were blowing them off right there.
What happens if somebody needs an ambulance?
They'll move the car.
Well, let's finish these off. So clearly, I mean, we issued $100. Was it $100?
Two $300 fines
$300
to each property, so 4 total.
All right.
Is there anything more we can do, or is that it?
I think for now that's all we can do. We've got to make sure that they don't continue to do something like this, in the future. But if they're saying they've suspended beach raking, it's just another stupid reason why you shouldn't be doing beach raking. But
If they don't,
Each got two $300 fines, so it's $600 together?
600 total.
Yeah.
It's hard to suspend something if you don't admit to doing it.
Yes.
and they could just,
Great point.
I found the whole point, it was a little odd because they said we didn't do it, but we've suspended
Yeah.
our beach raking, so.
We didn't do it.
But we didn't do it, okay.
but we can't, they didn't show up, so could we request their presence to discuss the situation?
I think the enforcement order did request their
Okay, good.
presence,
Yep.
but I don't think it's going to make any difference because I think we're all going to sign the enforcement order and
Okay.
approve the citations, so.
How did we find out about it?
I believe Brittany was notified by someone that the raking happened without Autobahn present, and she investigated and found these and took the pictures the next day, which is the only reason the rack line even appears at all. But it is definitely reduced. And I went back and investigated a few weeks ago, and they hadn't raked.
It's corduroy, that's,
I was hoping the new owners were going to
Yeah.
turn over a new leaf, but
We're hoping.
Is that the new
but
owner
apparently
still?
they did learn, did they?
Those are the new owners?
Yeah.
Now, do we need to vote on that?
Yeah, so do I have a motion to ratify both enforcement orders that are being discussed?
So moved. Well, okay.
So moved.
And Ellie, a second. All right. Paul?
Aye.
Ellie?
Aye.
Rick?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Jack?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Last order of business then is the approval of meeting minutes for June 20th, 2024. Anybody read them?
I did.
Would like to make a motion then?
So moved to accept them.
Is there a second?
Second?
Thank you. Paul. 14.
So I gotta get Jack and Pat to sign that.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Ellie.
Aye.
Rick.
Aye.
David.
Aye.
Jack.
Aye.
Oh, we need a pen?
And chair votes aye, carries unanimously. All right, any further business not reasonably anticipated?
Recycling?
Yes. Thank you.
Been anything? All right, would somebody like to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in? Paul?
Aye.
Ellie?
Aye.
Rick?
Aye.
David?
Aye.
Jack?
Aye.
Chair votes aye.
Oh, not bad,
And it is 6:25.
Yeah, you want to